o'clock here. Let's go ahead and start with roll call, if we may.
Mr. Whitten? Here. Ms. Charelli? Absent. Mr. Dennison? Here. Ms. Norvell? Here. Mr. Harrison? Absent. Ms. McGowan? Absent. Mr. Franks? Here. Mr. Flanagan? Here. Mr. McLaughlin? Here. And Chair Morley?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you very much. Moving on to our next item for approval of minutes. We've got a bit of a unique situation. We've got the April and the May minutes to approve. And just to kind of get you guys up to speed on that, the April minutes were approved last meeting, but there was an omission or an error on the roll call there that did not show Mr. Whitten being present in April when he was. So we want to correct that. So we've corrected that. So I'd like a motion to approve the April 7th meeting minutes. Okay, so we have Bob Dennison and second, Steve Whitten. All in favor? All right, motion passes. Also need a motion to approve the May 5th meeting minutes. I'll go ahead, I'll make that motion for May minutes. I may have a second. Second. Well, all in favor? All right, okay. Great, thank you very much. All right, Sergeant, why don't we get started with our Waterway crime report and safety.
Good evening, everybody. For the month of May, the Fort Lauderdale Police Department Marine Unit responded to 88 calls for service. Hear me? Okay. During the month of May, the Fort Lauderdale Police Department Marine Unit responded to 88 calls for service and wrote 70 citations and responded to 2 reportable accidents. The Seven Seas yacht sales dealership had a burglary of one of their vessels and an attempted burglary on one of their vessels. 3 GPS chart plotters were stolen with a value of $36,000. Fingerprints were found on the scene, hopefully of the suspect, and the Detective Bureau is investigating it. We also had a domestic violence incident at the Triangle Sandbar, which resulted in an arrest of the suspect. The suspect and his brother were also operating the vessel in a reckless manner. So he was charged, him and his brother were charged with reckless operation of vessel, and the boat was a Freedom Boat Club boat, and they were notified of the incident, and their membership was terminated.
Okay. Okay. Were you involved in that sinking on the sandbar there in front of the yacht club?
With the J Sandbar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we not heavily involved. We just kind of facilitated to where he could get the vessel out of there and disposed of in a timely manner.
Good, good. Okay. Any questions from the board for Sergeant O'Neill? No? Anyone? Going once? All right, Sergeant, thank you very much. Appreciate that very much. Thank you for your service also. It means a lot to us. All right, moving along to item number 5, our first dock permit application for 909 Cordova Road. David and Jesse Cunningham is the applicant or representative here.
I'm David Cunningham.
Okay. Please come up to the podium and go ahead and present your application, and we'll work through it. Thank you very much, sir. State your name.
Thank you. I'm David Cunningham, and I'm here to apply for a dock permit at 909 Cordova. We've owned the property since 2018, had a dock prior to that point in time, and are requesting approval to put a new dock in, understanding the rules and regulations, and have been supported by Andrew and the development of that.
Okay. All right.
I'm here, of course, to answer any questions that you may have.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. So, start off from the board. Any questions for the applicant from the board? I've got a few, but I'll go ahead and I'll defer mine till later. Steve, any questions for him? Okay. Okay. All right. Barry, any questions? Bob? Bob? Okay. A couple of quick questions for you then, Mr. Cunningham. I noticed on the application for the drawing, the marginal dock and also a perpendicular floating dock, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you've got an angled portion of your property, so
That's right.
the riparian rights kind of, and the setbacks are, okay.
And that's why that drawing was a little angled on the sheet to
Right.
reflect that.
So you've got a 37 Grady White that you're planning on putting there. So I'm kind of looking at the math here, and my question really comes down to the floating dock. With the 5-foot setbacks that the city requires, does your boat actually fit? Because I'm seeing only like 31 foot of face dock there left if that floating dock is
I'm
there.
planning on taking the nose of the boat and extending it over the floating dock
Okay,
so that I stay within the 40-foot limit.
okay. All right, because obviously setbacks are a big deal for us.
I
and,
understand that.
Zoning is big on that. And then also the offshore mooring piles are at 13 feet center to center, and your boat's got a 13.2 beam on it, correct?
It is a 13-foot beam, and I thought those pilings were supposed to be at 16 feet.
Okay. Right now, they're shown at 13, which is kind of,
That'd be a little tight.
yeah. So that's my only question there is, I don't want to see you build something that you can't use.
No,
That's
no,
what
and
I'm
I'd
further-
asked that it be put at 16 feet so that I would have a foot and a half or so on each side of it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Everything else looks to be in order, so that's all the questions I have were related to that. Again, and no, any questions? Norbert, you got a question?
I have one. I'm looking at that, the same thing. I'm looking at the floating dock. And I'm looking at maybe the same thing as Ted is. There, I see 10 feet behind the, on the, side of the piling. So if you've tied the boat up on that side and stuff over there, your beam is less than 5 feet? In other words, I see 10 feet. That second dotted line and stuff is the first line, the one that's right on the piling on your thing, I imagine is where your property line is?
Could I approach you, because I'm looking at the dot.
Okay, we don't have the picture up, this TV's off. So I'm looking at one that's a small, like the
Right,
prints and stuff, it's print small. But there's a dotted line that runs right alongside of your pile and out on that floating dock, correct? What is that line?
Are you talking about this line on the outside of?
In other words, you got the angle on is right, what Ted was talking about. And then you have the actual marginal dock or the wharf is basically with an angle, but the dotted line that's right alongside of the wharf and actually runs alongside of the pile that are holding your floating dock. What is that dotted line? Is that dotted line your property line?
If I could approach you just so we could talk from the same, because I'm looking at this and you're looking at that. I just don't want to.
Yeah. Go ahead and, just as long as you're both on the mic so we can hear for the record.
This line right here.
That's a setback line.
This is the setback line.
This is a property line.
Which one?
This one.
This is the property line? Okay, so
Yes, sir.
you're actually 10 feet back from the setback line.
Right.
All right, see, I'm looking at
Well,
that.
this is
and I didn't
actually
know-
5 feet from here to here.
Yeah, okay, you got 5 feet from here to here, but I'm
Yeah.
saying is you put a boat alongside of here.
Oh, no, I'm not putting a boat along there.
Yeah, but you could,
I wasn't planning to.
okay? And what's the length of the boat?
Well, my boat is a 36 Grady White, so I'm gonna put it inside here.
That's on the inside thing.
Right.
The point that I was getting at is you can put a boat on your marginal dock in here, but there's nothing that stops
I'm
you
not-
from putting the boat out on the outside.
And I'm not going to. All I'm
How
gonna
do we
do
know
is.
that? See, that's the thing. In other words, I'm saying is that's what all the times that we have, and with the commissioner. In other words, if you put a boat, you would put a boat and stuff out there if you wanted to. You say you're not going to.
It was a launching for kayaks is what I was
Okay.
doing,
So it's a kayak dock for that.
basically.
Okay.
That's all my whole intention was just to be able to get to water level.
Perfect. Just need that on the record, that's all.
And it's important to note that that's a very exposed area, and any violation of setback would likely be reported to.
Oh,
code
absolutely, yeah,
enforcement, so
it's, absolutely,
there's no
okay.
issue.
Yeah, I have no issue with the kayak dock being used for kayaks, and I think that's a great point, Norbert, thank you. All right, any other questions from the board? Any questions from the, or comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Okay, nothing further. I'd like a motion on item 5 then. Okay, Steve Whitten, motion to approve. May I have a second? Second, Barry Flanagan. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Cunningham, thank you very much, sir. Okay, moving on to item 6, dock permit waiver request for 1009 Cordova Road, Robert and Jenna Atlas. I do not believe that the Atlases are here, correct, Andrew?
That's correct.
Okay, so,
I can tell you that in this particular case, this dock is currently in place, and the applicants, are not present. However, they wish to obtain usage of that same dock, via dock permit process.
okay. They are a recent, I believe, they just bought the house from the Richardsons, correct?
Correct.
Previous owners, okay. Just to refresh everyone's memory, we actually heard this permit request through the former owner, Jay and Jamie Richardson, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, somewhere around there. And we approved it. It was approved by the commission. It was built to design that we approved. And this applicant is requesting no changes. They have simply bought the house and are going through the process now of getting the permit in their name, as is the process that's required. So it's pretty straightforward and simple. Them not being here, they can't answer any questions, but when I ask the board, are there any questions or comments about this application that would need to be answered?
No, it's a beautiful dock that's out there now, and it's important to note that they were very specific in that they will be using their own vessel at that location. Nobody else will be able to use that besides them.
Yep.
Correct,
Yep, correct.
non-transferable.
Yep, it's non-transferable, so when they buy a property, they have to reapply for the permit. Okay, any other questions from the board? Any questions or comments from the public regarding item 6? All right, bringing it back to the board. If there are no further questions, may I have a motion on item 6?
Motion
Okay.
to approve.
Second? Second, Bob Dennison. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries for item 6. Thank you very much. Moving right along here. Item 7, another dock permit for Cordova Road, 811. Stephen and Dana Marin. Mr. Marin, please take the podium, state your name for the record, and present your application, please.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Marin, live at 811 Cordova Road, and I'm here to present my application for a permit for a dock. That's part of the requirement. I'm here to answer any questions. Anything you guys need, I'm here to... I'm sorry about that. As part of the process, I'm here to answer any questions regarding the application to build a dock at 811 Cordova Road.
Okay, I'm assuming everyone on the board has had a chance to review this and look at it. Open the floor up to questions from the board. Anyone on the board have any questions for the applicant on item 7? I've got a couple.
Okay. Sure.
When we look at the City of Fort Lauderdale process for these permits, Section 8144 is pretty clear on what they require. And one of those requirements, item 4 actually, of the terms and conditions is that only vessels that are owned by the permit holder and registered with the city as part of the dock process may be moored there. So currently you don't own a boat, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what is your plan for including a boat on your application packet to the city engineering?
Okay, so I'm currently actively in the process of purchasing a boat.
Okay,
It's just been quite challenging.
okay,
Not looking for a new boat, looking for a pre-owned boat, and have a, broker actively looking for us. So I know we will buy a boat, and I know this process takes some time to build a dock, so our intent is to have a boat hopefully before this is complete.
Okay.
So we are actively looking, and the dock is for the sole purpose of our use and nobody else's.
What size boat are you looking for?
About a 33 to 35
Outboards or?
outboard.
Okay, okay. I ask because it's something the city might request and
Sure.
require of you is proof that you actually own a vessel, because these
Absolutely.
docks is a stipulation within the section, so I just want to make that clear to everybody.
Okay.
Everything else appears to be in compliance, so I don't have any issue with the dock design. It's pretty
Just
straightforward.
challenging times, and if you're these days. I mean,
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's great if you're
like I
selling,
was
that's-
telling Andrew, unless you want to really get ripped off, it's challenging times. You gotta do your homework. So that's what we're in the process of doing.
Good. Well, good luck with
Okay, thank
with
you.
your search there. Going back to the board, any other questions or comments for the applicant? Okay. Any comments or questions from the public for the applicant on this application? Hearing none, back to the board. May I have a motion for item 7? Motion to approve. May I have a second? Second? Norbert? Okay. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck with the boat search. Sir,
I just want to compliment. You have an exceptional gentleman here with you guys on your team. This
What are you running for office? Oh, okay.
this guy's great.
that's right. All right. We are blessed to have Andrew Cuba as part of our team for sure. He keeps us all straight. All right, excellent. So that got through those 3 items. Moving on to on our agenda to old and new business. Do we have any old or new business to present tonight from the committee, Mr. Franks?
Oh, is this on? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, just a subject you guys have talked about a lot is the train bridge. I'm sure I'm not going to tell you anything new about it, but just as a matter of course, I had a captain come down the river a couple of days ago following, with the following current. Basically had to stop at the railroad bridge. Sign said 2 trains coming, so waited 10 minutes. The bridge was down, 2 trains went by. Okay, he figures 5-10 minutes, the bridge will come back up. Oh, the sign comes up. 2 more trains coming in 45 minutes. The bridge stayed down. So he basically had to maneuver in a following current with everybody piling up behind him for an hour. There was boats obviously coming up the river that were all piling up. So it was difficult for that size boat in that small, narrow waterway with all the traffic. Bridge comes up, and now you've got everybody coming from all these different directions. There's got to be a way to have that train bridge open up more frequently. I mean, if it's waiting 45 minutes for a train, what's it down for?
Yeah.
And you guys have talked about it extensively. I just wanted to bring it up again as a continuing issue.
Well, I believe that the MIASF still has a camera on that bridge, if I'm mistaken. They're kind of keeping track of its frequency of use and frequency of operation. It's frustrating. If you live on the river, make your living on the river, it's extremely frustrating. And I think we've heard from a number of people in this setting over the years how frustrating it is and how we're looking for solutions, obviously, with that. Some ideas were presented to us, I believe, 2 years ago. It's been now. And heretofore, we still haven't seen any movement forward on that. So I would just encourage you to encourage your captains to keep reporting it. And if it's a violation of the Coast Guard agreement, obviously they can notify Bridges and Waterways of the Coast Guard and file a complaint that way. And that's really the only way that the Coast Guard can keep track of it is if we lodge complaints against it. Because there is an agreement in place that they've got to adhere to. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Any other old or new business from the board? Barry? Microphone. Don't forget. Yes.
Marine Industries Association is also tracking.
Yeah, Patience
Camera.
Cohen, I believe you're speaking of. Yes. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's important. It's that river is the lifeblood of the economy of the marine industry of Fort Lauderdale for sure. So, all right. Anything else from the board for new business or old business? I know we've got some members of the public that want to speak. So if there's nothing else from the board. Barry, one more, okay?
You may recall last meeting or two, we initiated some concerns about the permit application going through the Army Corps pertaining to dockage in front of Salt 7 pedestrian walkway. I heard from patients the other day, and it's gotten to as to like, where do we go from here? And one of our commissioners has offered to look into it or inquire on our behalf. And I think one of our fellow board members, Bob Dennison, had sent a letter offering or explaining and was responded. It's like, where do we go from here? There was overwhelming number of letters were written opposing, not only from our marine friends, but from the condominiums along the route there. So I thought bringing it up tonight to see if there's a direction the board would go is to taking up the offer of the commissioner.
Well, I believe, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but June 7th at 1:30 is the city commission meeting regarding the Icon dockage? Okay. I'm planning on attending that commission meeting on the 7th at 1:30, so we can, again, present our side of it and, present the facts as we're concerned about it from the river. So I would encourage anyone from the committee that wants to be there on the 7th. It's going to be right here. So if you're available at 1:30 on June 7th, feel free to join me at that, and let's make sure our commissioners are aware of the concerns that this board has and that the public has made us aware of through this board. I believe we all have written letters. I know I've gotten copies of a lot of them to Army Corps about this issue, and I think the issue of the train bridge still being unresolved is another reason why we have to keep this area from maneuvering. The river's getting tighter and tighter, and I think it's important that the commissioners that aren't necessarily aware of the river hear from us as their appointed experts on waterways to advise them. So I'm going June 7th, and I would encourage anyone who wants to come along to to plan on being there as well if you can. I think the more of us that speak up, the better at these things. We get it into the minutes, but then what? So if we can get it in person, I think it's just better. So again, June 7th at 1:30, if you can. So.
I will absolutely do that.
Great. So a calendar reminder for the 1:30 June 7th meeting would be wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Barry. It means a lot. We'll keep up on it. I mean, there's really nothing else we can do, unfortunately.
We don't know what the Corps is doing. They don't need city approval.
Nope.
So
Nope.
it could be addressed, issued, and
Yep.
granted without,
Well, they can't build a city permit.
they don't need a permit.
We'll clarify because I've asked that question to zoning and they seem to think that they do. So that'll be a question to ask on June 7th and see if they have any response from the Army Corps of Engineers as well. I mean, unfortunately, our voice is limited in this matter, and we've yelled from the rooftops to those that are hearing, and whether or not they choose to act on that is not up to us. Army Corps will do what Army Corps wants, I guess. And I've got no response back. I've sent 2 separate emails requesting an update, and I've heard nothing back.
None of us have had any response at all.
Yeah.
And
I don't believe
part-
Patience has either from MIASF.
No, I don't know anyone who's had a reply back. The
Okay.
only conversation I ever had with him was probably 2 years ago, and he happened to pick, it was David Pettit, happened to pick the phone up while he was in the office. Otherwise, they don't
Yeah.
return emails. Andrew hasn't gotten a response to any of his emails,
Okay.
and I don't know of anyone who has.
All right. Well, it's frustrating for sure.
not at this point. However, as Ted said, that could be a position they take after the commission meeting. And it's also important to point out that they're asking for 4 slips, which would have to come out of the slip count from the county, the Manatee Protection Plan, sighting plan. And so I don't know if, if they're even in line for those slips, and if they are, if they're at the back of the line,
Right.
which would be a great thing.
Yeah. There's a couple of different things hoops they have to jump through to get this thing done. So any one of which might be a stop event for it. I'm all for slips. As a boat owner, I love taking my boat out and going places, but at the same time, safety of the navigation has to come. They got to come first. I don't want to see Sergeant O'Neill's team getting even busier, responding to accidents and collisions on the New River. That'd be a bad thing. So, all right. Any other old or new business from the board?
Ted,
Robert?
bringing back over there, what Bob said over here, meetings, quite a few meetings and stuff ago, the Coast Guard was fining the trains and stuff for, violation of their, time schedule that they went in there. And they racked up quite a lot of, fine money.
Mhm.
And, I was just wondering, I said whether or not that they paid it, how they skated from it, if anybody heard anything. And in lieu of what he was just saying, obviously that's another violation of adding the cost onto it. So as far as I know, they have not paid 1 single cent towards the fines, so they're not complying with that. And I was wondering who is actually the police force that actually dictates whether that's who pays the fine. I mean, do they bring them to court? Who is watching it? Who's the watchdog? Is it the Coast Guard? Can't be the Marine Patrol, so it has to be the Coast Guard, right?
That's a question I don't know the answer to. Andrew, any idea?
I too suspect it's the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
That's why that hotline is set up for complaints.
How are they forced to, in other words, they just keep prolonging, and they haven't paid, to my knowledge, they haven't paid fine 1. So who actually is enforcing the fact that you owe money, and at one point you either stop the trains from coming or pay the fine? That's what I would think.
I'll reach out to Marine Industries. I'll get an answer for you, and I'll distribute it to the group.
And I see we've got a member of the public with his arm up. Hardy, do you have a comment to add to the train? Can you state your name and get in the microphone? Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Gotta get you on record. Name and comment.
Hello, my name's Hardy Anderson. I'm the president of Peterson Fuel. And just to go off your concern, I do know I sat down with patients and Phil Purcell for a meeting with the FEC train guys, because obviously with Peterson Fuel, they mess us up all the time with the train bridges going up and down. And I know each single time the fine is $15,000, and you are correct. Basically, that fine has been just sitting in litigation and not a cent has been paid yet. So as far as like what you said, they are racking up the fines and everything. But as far as them actually writing a check or anything like that, I know the fact that they haven't paid anything as well. So, because we cite them all the time. My guys are constantly calling in the U.S. Coast Guard for that and everything. And like you said, for the train bridge being down, I think they're allowed to be down for 45 minutes on the hour. And that's every hour, basically. So it's a big concern, definitely, for the marine industry.
Okay. Thank you, Hardy.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board? Okay, and Hardy, I believe you've got something to speak to also, so.
I do.
State your name and,
So again, I'm Hardy Anderson from Peterson Fuel, and I wanted to bring something to your guys' attention just to see how you guys look at the law. I own a property at 1604 Southeast 12th Street, and currently right now I keep one of my gas barges behind the property. And recently I was cited by the city for a code violation for having a commercial vessel behind a private residential area. And, you know, before I bought the property and everything like that, I did go through the law that states prohibited parking and storage of commercial vessels and commercial watercraft, and I don't believe my vessel falls under that. And so I just wanted to kind of get the Marine Council's feedback and see how they, you know, read the law.
So you have an appointment with the magistrate?
Correct, on June 14th, yes.
I think that's when that determination will be made, at that level. As you and I discussed, this board's role has less to do with zoning than navigational impact. This is a zoning, it sounds like a zoning issue.
Mhm.
So I think that the magistrate's gonna answer a lot of these questions.
My issue with that is I've spoken with zoning and everything, and just like how there's a Marine Council, you know, and then there's the City Commission, we all know that there's, you know, a big gap on, you know, what they understand to what we understand, and that's why we do have the Marine Council. And just, you know, speaking to some of those city people, I don't think they really understand just, you know, just how the law should be perceived, or how I see it in the case of, you know, having a commercial vessel. Because the other issue I was going to bring up is a couple months ago, I came up here and spoke about, you know, all the big safe harbors, Suntex buying up everything. And, you know, for small guys like me in the commercial business, we're really finding a real tough time finding commercial dockage where I'm allowed to keep my vessels. And basically, I feel like it's a restriction of trade. You know, we've been around for 27 years, and, you know, we're a flourishing business with what's going on in the marine industry. And I shouldn't have an issue, I feel, with, you know, keeping my vessels somewhere. So currently right now, I keep my vessels where water taxi is on the New River, and that developer, just like all the other guys, is putting up a big sky rise and everything like that. So he said within the next 1 to 2 months, you know, we're gonna have to be out of there. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm just looking for a place to keep my vessels. You would think I would be able to go to LMC or something and get dockage or something, but that's not the case, because they see me as competition. You know, a lot of those places, Bahia Mar, they do sell fuel, so they see me as competition, and I feel like they're trying to push me out, because as soon as Peterson Fuel's not around, you know, fuel prices are going to skyrocket at all these shipyards and marinas and everything like that. I feel like my business keeps them all at bay, and that's my concern. So,
Hardy, I would encourage you to make that case to the magistrate and just get an idea of where you actually fall within the law. 'Cause again, I agree with Andrew. I mean, I understand your issue, but I don't think we have the purview here or the ability to answer that question. So it's kind of beyond us, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I understand. And then I filled out an application to speak at the next city council meeting in June, just to bring up all my concerns and everything. And hopefully by then I'll have a petition of a couple hundred captains and owners and everything that, you know, believe my business should stick around and everything like that. So.
Well, I wish you success with that.
Thank
honestly,
you.
You're an important part of the marine industry, that's for sure.
Appreciate it, Ted.
So
Thank you.
thank you very much, Hardy. All right, anything else from old and new? Hearing none. Up, Barry? So a question, I guess, to Andrew is, can this board send letters regarding a special magistrate's hearing? Is that within our purview to do that? And if so, what's the mechanism for that? And I mean, how do we do that if it is agreed upon?
I think that this board can make any communication it wishes to make. There's no doubt about that. So if the question is whether or not you can make a communication supporting Peterson's concerns, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So he has a zoning concern, absolutely, and it is a valid zoning concern. So that's why the magistrate has to weigh in on it as opposed to our board. But we can certainly make communication about any topic. Because it is a permitted usage issue in a particular zoning, our opinions are important.
Unimportant. Yeah, yeah. That's kind of how I feel, unfortunately, as well. Racking my brains to how we can support, the person, but it's a tough situation because again, it is sort of beyond our purview. I would like to stay on top of this and actually hear how the magistrate went, and then learn a little bit more about that process afterwards. Because again, protecting commercial trade and access to our waterways is vital, and that is part of our mission. So I do agree with Barry on that point completely, that we need to make sure we have that access available to our commercial operators. Maybe we can we can communicate unofficially to our city commissioners, and raise our points privately with them as a citizen. I don't know. That's obviously something we can do. So if we can't do an official communication, we can certainly have individual communications to our commissioners themselves. And I would encourage and support that effort. But, okay. Anything else from anyone? Pretty straightforward night. If nothing further, I'd like a motion to adjourn. Steve, second? Bob, okay, all in favor? Aye? Great, thank you guys, have a good evening, and watch out for the hurricanes.